The topics that we're talking about today are covered on the SAT, and they are aspects that you need to know, but they're also helpful if you're a professional and you're wanting to up your writing skills. So if you learn how to master these, your writing will improve 200%. Concise means short, sweet, and to the point. When you are writing, you want to think, how can you say what you need to say in as few words as possible? Less is more. Here's an example. Thinking in a manner more general, we can say that good schools enable people to learn more. So just looking at the sentence straight off, you think, okay, it's not bad. It sounds okay, but there's something here, and I'm wondering if you can spot it. This is not a concise sentence. We can make this better, and here's how. Generally, we can say that good schools enable people to learn more. Notice we took out thinking in a manner more general. So we have all of these words. We turned this phrase into one. Boom, generally. It's like an arrow. You want to hit that target as straight from point A to point B as quickly as possible. So what's tricky here, and especially when English is not your first language, you do have to have some vocabulary training. So if vocabulary is a weak spot for you, be sure to practice every day. You can learn 2 or 3 new words. By the end of the month, you'll be in a better position. When the audience stood to applaud the speaker, it was clear that her words had a marvelous, even stupendous effect on the crowd. Now I'm going to leave this on the screen for a little bit because I want you to think, if you were the editor, how would you fix this sentence? If your writer came to you and gave you this sentence, what would you change? So here's the answer. Marvelous and stupendous mean the same thing. So we don't have to say it twice. Don't use synonyms unnecessarily. We can cut even stupendous. You've already said how the speech affected the crowd in a marvelous way, in a very nice way. We don't have to say even stupendous. The next thing is redundancy. And if you're redundant, it means you're saying the same thing again and again. And going back to the first rule that we just learned about concision, you want to write straight to the point. Each word is like a plank that you're building a boat with. If you use an extra plank, that boat could sink. We're going to end up in Feo-Atal. This is a little bit of a trick for you, but see if you can find it. The stock market might repeat its drop and rise pattern again, warns the financial forecast. So we have repeat and again. So this is unnecessary. Management was surprised to see a biannual uptick in sales twice each year. Do you see anything that repeats itself? What does biannual mean? Twice each year. So we can make this better. Management was surprised to see a biannual uptick in sales. We can cut that twice each year because it's already been stated. When you have simple sentences and you're trying to figure out what is the best way to combine them, consider in both sentences, is there something that both sentences are referring to or talking about? So in the first sentence, are we talking about the company? In the second sentence, are we talking about management? In the first sentence, are we talking about process? And the next one is procedure. What is the relationship between the two sentences? Is there a sequence? Is there some sort of pattern that you see? Does one sentence actually elaborate or define the other? Does one sentence build upon the topic that's already been established? Young musicians are encouraged to perfect their techniques and skills through training. After this, they can start careers in small local orchestras. Who are we talking about here? The they. We have the they in the second sentence, and you have to sometimes be careful with pronouns because if the pronoun isn't clear who you're referring to, you want to be very on point with that. The they in the second sentence is referring to the young musicians, and so we know from the first sentence that these young musicians are what? They're encouraged to get better through training. What is the relationship? So we have first, we have get better through training. And then what? You can start your career. So look at the fix. After perfecting their techniques and skills through training, young musicians can start careers in small local orchestras. We're using as few words as possible to get the information across. We have not repeated information. And now we're thinking about sentence construction, making sure that the information we have is presented in the best way possible. So we took 2 sentences, figured out what is in common, how can we join them, and made an edit. So now we have a sentence that reads quite nicely. Again, you may have to review vocabulary and you may have to review some grammar rules to remember that you can use prepositional phrases, you can use participles, and what are these conjunctions that you can use to help you join simple sentences. I have something for you so you can practice and get better. This won't take a lot of time. You can improve your writing dramatically in as little as 2 minutes a day. I'm going to give you some words. Write these down. This is also a way to stick out if you're applying for a job. So if you're sending an email or writing your resume or CV and you have these kinds of mistakes, a boss will quickly say, okay, this person is not paying attention to detail. I don't know that I want them on my team. When you use words in a sentence, it's more likely to stick in your head because it's not just you're looking over a definition and you're trying to remember something. You're putting it into practice, and that is how you learn. They sound the same. And again, when English isn't your first language, these are tricky because you have to learn how are these words used in a sentence and how are they spelled. The first one, to accept something, right? I'll accept your gift. That's a verb. It's to receive something. And the second one, accept with the EX, accept. So we're all going to the movies except for Paul. That person's not coming. The next is affect and effect. It had an effect on me. His decision will affect the whole country's GDP. The next is beside and besides. If I say, come sit beside me, that's next to, nearby. If I say, besides that first report, your work was well done, that means that first one was not good. So it's not included. Compliment and compliment. So when I offer you a compliment, when I say your essay was phenomenal, your speaking skills are great, that's with the I. And I like to think of this as when you use the I, it's either you feel good if someone gives you a compliment or you feel good when you're giving someone else a compliment. When you compliment something else, so for instance, her earrings complimented her outfit, there is something that means it's matching well. You can also think about it's completing something in some way. So there's the complementary colors. Next, eminent and imminent, something that is about to happen. So imminent disaster, or the eminent speaker. So someone who is very well known. The next one, proceed and to proceed. So if proceed with your work, it means keep going, continue, keep going. To proceed means to come before. Tea and coffee will precede today's meeting. Sight, sight, and sight. 3 words, different spellings, different meanings. They all sound the same. Sight obviously is the view. What is sight? What is seen? If we're visiting the work site tomorrow, this is a place. So the site of the crime, the site of the new hospital, it's a location. And then the third one, which if any of you guys here are in the academic realm, I hope you know how to cite sources. So if you're citing someone's work, if you're citing a research article, if you're citing a quote from an author that you love. Lastly, then and then. So then, right, is something will happen and then the next thing will happen. Then with the A means comparison. I'd prefer to have a hamburger rather than the pizza. Or if I prefer the hamburger than the pizza, that means I'm eating them both. Before you send in any email, send in any report, finish any essay on an exam, you should always leave a few minutes to reread what you've written and look for mistakes. Because look, it's very easy to write THEN instead of THAN. By taking those few moments, you show that you care. You can also download Grammarly. Grammarly will help you check out your emails when you're writing online. How does your writing sound? I don't know about you, but I speak differently to my friends than I would to my father. The words that you use, the way that you say it, this can impact the way that it's received. If you compare a magazine with a research article, with a newspaper, with an Instagram post, each style, the tones will be a little bit different because the way in which they're written, the audience that they're intended for, it varies. Who is going to be reading your work? Considering your audience, this is the #1 pro tip whenever you're writing anything, is you have to think, who are you writing it for? Who's reading it? If you're writing to a founder, if you're writing to someone who could potentially invest in your company, if you're writing to your boss, obviously you want to keep your writing formal. If you're sending a note to your friend saying, hey, what's up? Just want to check in, make sure that you're okay. Your tone, your speech will be a lot more casual. So you have to keep that in mind when you're writing, especially in a professional realm. I hope this was helpful. Thanks so much for being here. Very kushilayo, very vitolo. Hope to see you guys again. Bye-bye.